what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to another episode of Beast and Booze. We like our intro. So we're back with another episode of Beast and Booze. If you're not familiar with the series, there's a playlist. You can go watch the other episodes where we've covered some scary stuff. The Spectre Moose of Maine, Wendigos, and last episode we talked about, Ivan taught us about the Oklahoma octopus. Which means this week it's my turn to pick what we're talking about. And I'm going to be honest, this isn't that far off from the one I already picked, but it's enough different that it's a separate thing. Anyway, so my BC pick for this episode is the Skinwalker. Something that I have been fascinated with for about as long as I've been fascinated with Wendigos. Another piece of lore that comes from Native American culture and tribes, and one of those other things. I think the biggest thing that I see, though, too, I was thinking about this as I was like getting notes together and stuff, is I think the biggest thing is the Skinwalker hasn't been as westernized as the Wendigo has. I feel like the Skinwalkers, it's because it's a taboo thing to talk about them or it or anything, and so a lot of people in like the major one is the Navajo. They don't talk about it. Like, you're not allowed to talk about it, and they don't talk about it with outsiders either. And so it's interesting that it hasn't been as westernized, and there's not as much information as there is for Wendigos. So Skinwalkers, there's a couple different theories about how one may become a Skinwalker. The first one is that the belief is that, so there's two different titles that I'm going to mention probably off and on. And it's like, shaman, healers, medical, the medicine men and women, people in those fields, they are like the good. And if you hear the term witch, it is immediately negative. You will never hear anyone in these tribes call their medicine men or women or any of the shaman, any of them. You will never hear them be called witches, because witches is a negative term. It means bad. So one of the beliefs is that Skinwalkers are witches who decided to use their abilities for bad, to cause harm to people. In some instances, they were once, the medicine people for their tribe, and they decided to turn that and use it into something negative. And I saw this kind of goes a few times, and I think it's because it's not like perfectly translated. So there's two Navajo phrases that kind of encapsulate like what, being a Skinwalker is supposed to be. And the first one is, with it, he goes on all fours, which obviously sounds like meaning of transformation to an animal that's on all fours. And the other one is, and it basically means the same thing, it's just worded slightly different, is by means of trotting on all fours. So I think it's just a translation thing of like trying to make it fit into, anyway. So one of the, with Skinwalkers, there's a lot of, things about like the rules. We don't know a lot of rules, when you think about things like vampire and werewolf lore, and kind of how other creatures and things have these rules and things that fit. That's like, this is the little box that they go in, because so little is known about the lore of Skinwalkers and like what they actually are and where they come from and these kind of things. There really isn't actually like a lot of stuff like that for specific things. It's just like a wide variety of facts. The couple of things that are pretty consistent, though, is that the other major belief associated with Skinwalkers is that it's a person who committed a great taboo against their tribe. And the biggest one in particular is the murdering of a family member. It doesn't necessarily state why, because it's taboo regardless to murder someone in your family. Who'd have thought, right? You can't kill someone in your family. Why not? Um,
If they're outside of your family, I guess we'll kind of
yeah, that's
look
totally
the other
fine.
way. But when they're in your family, now we got a problem.
Yeah, sometimes it's worded as tribe, and sometimes, but I've heard the family one a lot. The family one was the one I actually thought was the only. I didn't know about the connection between witches and using magic for bad, and I just never,
That sounds
because witch in my sense means does not mean evil per se. It can mean very good, in fact. And so it's interesting because I didn't know that element. I'd only heard about the negatives coming from like someone who committed a murder of their family or their tribe. So that's one of the consistencies. The other consistency is that seems to be pretty prevalent no matter which tribe or group of people you're talking to, is that you cannot talk like we are about skinwalkers. If you talk about them, you are encouraging them to seek you out. You're like, it's like a call to them to find you.
have you done something to us right now?
Have I?
Should I be worried?
It's like Beetlejuice. If you say it, Skinwalker, 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 you say it 3 times
Thanks.
fast. Like it.
What, what have you gotten me into?
Well, I figured I didn't want to die alone.
Oh,
um,
so sweet.
you just spent the last 40 minutes scaring me about one of the prettiest animals in the ocean. Give me a break. Yeah, so skinwalkers, yeah, so very taboo to talk about them. You're not supposed to do that. And as far as like ways to kill, there's a couple of different things. One is if you shoot one with a bow and arrow, and the arrow is made from a juniper tree. That's supposedly one way. Another way that seemed to be mixed results on is or was it also a knife rubbed with white ash?
So, like, get your weapons and make sure that you're in a place that has these materials.
I
Otherwise, you're kind of
mean,
screwed. Like, good luck. Yeah.
and it's crazy because the one that they're the least sure about is the one you got to get real close to do it. Like, I think I'm taking my chances with the juniper tree. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to
absolutely.
like,
I mean, junipers seem a little bit more plentiful than just white ash. Hey, you got to make that.
yeah, it's more time consuming at least,
Yeah.
but you don't have to be as close. Although in animal, as animal forms, they're probably pretty quick, right? I'd imagine kind of fast.
How badly do you want to live, though? You'll do whatever you can, right?
Yeah,
Boy,
why not?
I love how a lot of these types of things, like even when people write it, you write it for movies and stuff like that, where it's like you
Mhm.
have to do this in order to defeat this. It's like the thing that you have to do is just unnecessarily difficult. You know?
Yeah, just don't do any of the stuff that you did before that part, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Holy shit, man. Nothing, can't make anything easy.
Oh. So the taboo thing with like murdering a family member, that part of the lore is more prevalent with, I think I'm saying this right, with the Hopi, which is a
Yeah.
type of Armin is a type of, it's another tribe off of Navajo, but that's one where they like that's where that kind of comes from. It's not, the Navajo is more which is bad. This is more you murder your family and you're cursed as a skinwalker, which is another correlation. So Wendigo and Skinwalker are usually pretty closely tied together as far as some of these lore things, and they're both Native American in origin, so makes sense. But that was another thing, was it's like the when you commit an atrocity, because a Wendigo, it's cannibalism, and with this it's murdering a family member. And
So
then
it's
there's
not
another, huh?
it's not just any atrocity, right? Like or any taboo.
No,
It
not with
specifically
this
has to
one,
be
no.
okay. It specifically has to be the killing of a family member.
Yeah, it has to be the killing of a family
So what if I
member.
killed and ate that family member? Which one would I turn into?
There's pictures of both that look like a combination of the two. That's probably what would happen, a hybrid.
That's horrifying. Keep going.
You did that to yourself. I didn't do that. You
Well,
did that to
I'm
yourself.
just I'm just asking the questions that I know some people out there are going to ask. All right.
Like, oh God, what if
I'm doing a
yeah.
service here.
Oh, that's so scary. I don't like it. It's scary that you would do that as a human being. You kind of deserve to turn into a monster.
Yeah, you do. I'm
I'm
sorry I
just
thought about that,
saying.
everybody, but also you're welcome.
There's another tribe called the Ute, Ute. And one of their beliefs around the Skinwalker, I actually think this one's kind of interesting because this was one I didn't hear, I had not heard before. Is the belief that Skinwalkers have the ability to inflict illness and sickness, and curses to people who have done foul deeds, which is interesting because, in some of these pieces of lore, it's, oh, well, that is a punishment. So then you're given the ability to punish others, which is kind of an interesting um, kind of take on the concept of a skinwalker, and was not one that I was super familiar with in general.
Wow.
The Ute also believe that they had the ability to read minds.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Especially from the Punisher side of things, because they don't even have to see you do it. If you just even think about it, you're.
Wow. So I actually didn't. I'm going into this completely blind. I
Good.
about skinwalkers. I have heard of them, and I was actually I was going to do. It was on my list of episodes, to do for Gallifan of the Grotesque. And
Oh,
then when we started doing this, I'm like, oh no, no, I'm not doing that. This. I'm going to completely render myself naive to this entire subject. And this is so much more than I expected, and I am pleasantly satisfied and kind of horrified by this.
yeah. So, I mean, and the thing is, like, it's so interesting because, Skinwalker, at least in the way that it's portrayed in like the westernized kind of side of things, is very much a take of like a werewolf, or just like like an animal shifter, like, which I wouldn't compare a shifter to a skinwalker as in the same thing, but that's like, it's got some of those things kind of mixed into it. And I've got an example I'm going to get to in a minute that's kind of goes into the concept of it being very similar to a werewolf, but it's not. It's completely different, separate type of curse. Um, and the only other really major consistency and I think this goes to say, honestly, this is for like most things, and that's that they're active at night.
Mm. Because of course they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
As most of these types of things are, they're harder to see at night. They're harder to prove. So.
And when you're talking about things that have animal likenesses or animal abilities, is not the word I'm going for. But I'm on drink 2 and it's late. So abilities is not the word. Senses, animal senses. That would be the one I was looking for. Animal senses, they're going to see better at night.
Well, yeah. I mean, would that depend on the animal that they
Maybe,
like,
because
are there specific animals that qualify for skinwalkers, or can it
yeah,
be
so they can become a lot of different animals, but even scarier than that, they can take over faces of people.
oh, good God.
So there's a possession element as well, in the sense that it can possess human beings. It's one of the, again, a lot of this lore is very scattered into different thoughts and different beliefs, and it's very kind of like we've talked about before, with it's like playing a game of telephone,
Yeah.
where you get a lot of random pieces that are kind of put together from these different stories. And it sounds, I've named 3 so far. There's 3 different, groups that have different thoughts about them and different lore and different experiences, perhaps. But yeah, so they can look like people too. And they can, take the look of people that anyway, so it's not just animals, it is primarily animals, but it's also people as well, which
And
is
they can do this at will.
Mhm. I have only seen it used one time in a sense that it was under something specific happening. But yeah, no, it's definitely at will.
Oh my God.
Um And it's interesting because I think anytime you add, and again, possession is another thing that kind of ties it to Wendigos. There's possession element with those two. But there is something like super unsettling about the concept of possession, which I think we talked about with the Wendigo episode. So it's not just you knowingly do something that you shouldn't be doing, like using your magic for bad or murdering someone in your family. It's like they can also take over your physical appearance and look like you, and that's scary.
That is absolutely terrifying. I I'm a little uncomfortable right now.
Good. You should be.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the Wendigo episode, but um, like movies about demon possession scare the shit out of me.
They're one of my favorites. I love demonic movies.
Yeah, we're completely opposite on that one. I and I watched The Exorcist once when I was.
We did talk about this.
We did. Okay.
Didn't The Exorcist make influential horror for you?
Yeah.
Or maybe it came up in that conversation.
It came up in that conversation. Yes, because I watched it as a teenager and I never watched it again.
That's right. I do remember you telling me this now. Yeah.
I'm still trying to gain the courage to watch it again as an adult, and it's been months that I've been trying to do this. I still haven't.
It's a pretty effective movie. Even now, like I'm also still scared of that film.
But that goes into just that whole subgenre of possession, right? I'm not even a religious person. It's the whole it's the metaphor. It's the whole metaphor that it displays. So this Skinwalker lore is probably the most terrifying thing that I have heard in terms of cryptids. This is bonkers. And the fact that it can do so much more than that is insane. And I wonder if I can find the right words since we're 2 drinks in.
That's the name of the game.
Is the banter gets a little bit more interesting now. Is this like a version of demons themselves as far as Native American mythology goes, or Native American beliefs go?
Well, it doesn't come out as like anything spiritual though. Okay. It all comes out as like like a human being. Like it strictly focuses on that, which honestly, to me, I think human beings are very scary. I think the things that human beings think and do are very scary. So when you're talking about this sense of something, and I'm not a religious person either. So when you're talking about something that just exists within a human being, there's like something to that, right? As far as like discomfort and being like, because it could be anyone. Anyone's capable of those things. Usually the people you don't suspect or the people you would never think could. And this, I thought this was kind of, I didn't pull a lot of pictures because there's no sightings. That's not true. I just lied. I'm sorry. There is sightings. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But here's a drawing rendition of kind of,
Oh boy. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you see he's got like a coyote head, but it's like exaggerated features, like a Wendigo. Did you scoot back? You okay?
Yeah, it scared me. I didn't jump.
Okay. So, and unlike Wendigos, and I think it's interesting because there's more information on Wendigos, less information on Skinwalkers, but Skinwalkers are represented more in media than Wendigos. So, a couple modern takes. This is a giant one that I am sure everyone watching this has already knows about this. Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. Mm-hmm. There's a whole ass show about it. And my friend Tasha is like a super, she's like, every time she watches it, she's like, you got to watch this show. Like she gets so invested in it. But Skinwalker Ranch is a place that has documented sightings and pictures and things that have come from it that, it's like, it seems to be like a center, like for Skinwalkers. I don't know, but they have like, I haven't watched the show. I just know that it's like very, like really popular, I guess, as far as like being about like having Skinwalker things show up. And yeah, so that's one of the biggest ones. This is a picture. I had to re-upload it because it didn't stay for some reason. This is a picture of a supposed Skinwalker sighting. This isn't a drawing. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's blurry because that's the camera. That it's.
I mean, that's just the effect cryptids have on cameras, right?
They do. They just make everything blurry. Bigfoot's the same thing. But yeah, so Skinwalker Ranch is a big one. It's had, things in TV shows, Unsolved Mysteries. Even the show Supernatural has had references. There's tons of books. But the one that is like the biggest deal to me is from one of my favorite found footage movies, The Monster Project. And The Monster Project, one of the reasons that I love that film so much is because instead of doing werewolf, they did Skinwalker. And this is their Skinwalker.
Nice.
All practical effects. He is beautiful. Like his effects are like, love it so much. But cool. In this version, the main character, or the character that plays him as human, is an officer on the reserve. He's Navajo, and he agrees to do the short version of the Monster Project is it's a YouTube channel that fakes sightings and things for views. They decide to put out an ad on Craigslist. If you're a real monster, let us interview you. We'll pay you. So they get real monsters. They get a Skinwalker, a vampire, and a demon. And it is a very cool take on monsters and content creating. But anyway, moving on. Skinwalker part of it. Steven is the Skinwalker's name, his very Western name. And he tells the story of, that's what like the way you become a Skinwalker is by committing the taboo of murder. And so they ask him, they say, well, are you a murderer? And he gets really angry and like lashes out and is like, I'm not going to answer questions like that, or whatever it is he says. And so anyway, so this particular night that all of these events are going on in this film is under some kind of special moon. I'm drawing a blank on what it is now. And he pulls boards off the windows and sees the moon and changes. So it references werewolf lore. So it's not completely like normal Skinwalker lore, because I didn't find any information that suggests that Skinwalkers can't change at will.
Okay.
So the only thing with that specific story is if he could normally change at will, but maybe there was something about this moon that made it impossible because the other monsters also changed. In that case, it gets a pass. But they are not werewolves. Their lore does not match werewolf lore. Their transformation is not the same. The way that they transform is usually not the same. But there's quite a few examples of Skinwalkers in like a modern sense of like media, and which I just think is so interesting considering how like we're not allowed to know anything about them and it's so taboo to talk about them.
I was going to mention that, like, if we're not supposed to talk about them, how do we know so much about their supposed existence?
Yeah.
I do have another question about that one picture that you showed, the why did the cryptid cross the road picture.
What? Let me just tell you this. If I see a chicken that looks like that crossing the road, I'm out. I'm not telling no more jokes about it. I'm not going near no more farms. I won't even eat eggs ever again. I will be so done. That was a what? Absolutely not. Nope.
Oh my God, what's my question? Oh, right.
You said it.
I did. Oh my God, I'm stifling my own progress here. So these skinwalkers can shapeshift into animals or people. So what was that? Is I guess my
maybe
question
mid transformation.
Yeah. Okay. So
maybe. I mean, obviously, I didn't. I don't know. No one asked it. They just took a picture of it.
It's a good explanation because I'm thinking if it's like a form that we recognize, then how are we supposed to explain when someone sees that? Like, what the heck was that?
All I could
And
think
why
was
is that
a
a skinwalker?
skinwalker, like saying, "Hold on, let me get to be my good side." Like I need some picture. I don't know.
Like, do
That
you
picture was
mind? I'm
taken in
transforming here.
2018.
2018. Good
Mhm.
lord. That's
Yeah.
okay.
I really want to watch. I'm going to be honest with you. One of the reasons I haven't watched Skinwalker Ranch is because I low key like believe in skinwalkers, and I'm a little scared to watch it because I think I'm going to watch it and it's going to like fuck me up. I'm going to watch it and I'm going to be so scared. I'm going to be like, oh my
Well,
god.
here's something that you can do to kind of soften the blow a little bit. Every time they say Skinwalker Ranch, just ask yourself, isn't that where those Star Wars movies were made?
Oh no.
Today's
Boo.
terrible, today's terrible joke brought to you by me. I've got a million terrible jokes. All right, I waited until now, okay, to say it.
Oh, I'm so
And,
grateful.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I got plenty more, and they've been I've been holding back.
Oh my god. There's a I just thought about this. I should have had the DVD, although I don't even know if it's in here anymore. Who knows? This room is a nightmare. Anyway, there is a smaller scale like documentary monster crew called Small Town Monsters. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they do documentaries on cryptids and they're really cool. We met them at Mothman Festival last year.
Nice.
And I bought their Skinwalker documentary. I have not had, again, I totally buy into them. So I haven't watched it yet because I'm like, it's gonna scare me. But they are very loving and respectful to the concept of cryptids when they do their documentaries. And the one that they did on the Mothman was very well done. They did one on the New Jersey. They've done a bunch. But the Skinwalker one in particular, I do own somewhere. And that's one that I definitely want to watch because I would love to know more about these things that we're not supposed to know anything about. And maybe that's why. Maybe that's why there's all this mixed information and there's more of them present in different types of media and stuff because there's something fascinating about being told no,
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm going to do it anyway.
When
So
you're told no, you want to know more.
yeah,
It only makes that thing more interesting when you're told that you can't know anything about it.
it's true.
I mean, come on. Yeah,
It's
especially
true.
something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So that's pretty much all I had other than your questions. You ready for those?
Let's do it.
I did multiple choice for you again, I think. Yes.
Oh, cool. You are so much nicer than I am.
I am next. You're like giving me trick questions over there.
I'm not even giving you multiple choice. I should probably consider doing that.
Well, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what if you're nice next time or if you do the same thing. Okay, so the first one is what is not a common animal that you think would be associated with being a skinwalker? A coyote, a wolf, a bear, or a mountain lion?
It's not a common animal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we think. I mean, all of those sound like
Reasonable.
they sound very reasonable given the Native American origins of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go with bear.
No, mountain lion.
Damn. Ah.
I mean, coyote and wolf is their most common forms, but they
Given the
obviously
sheer size of a bear, that's kind of what I was hoping.
Oh, no bears. I feel much better about the skinwalker situation. uh, um, yeah, it's usually something like a wolf, a fox, a coyote, something in a canine kind of like family. And
you know what? I probably should have thought about what you said about being on all fours. Bears aren't always on all fours.
That's true.
So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I should have thought about that a little bit better.
It's all good. I didn't get any of yours. I got one right. Which of the following is another ability that skinwalkers have been said to have? These are scary ones. Time travel, controlling the weather, or moving things with their mind.
I don't want these things to have any of these.
So only one of the three is an actual ability that it is believed that skinwalkers have.
But do they not have enough? I mean, like, man, there is something just unsettling about each one of those. I want to say controlling the weather.
That's it.
Yeah.
Controlling the weather.
So I was thinking about the connection between the environment and the land that a lot of tribes had. So
That's smart.
yeah.
Yeah. It's controlling the weather. Controlling the weather, reading minds.
And that really seems like the most mild one of the three too. Like if I want
Yeah.
I want them to do anything, that's probably what it would be if I had a choice between those three. Like, geez.
Well, and you can think too, like controlling the weather would also tie into misfortune on the like that whole concept that like they are like these punishers. Like
Yeah.
you can ruin an entire group of people with weather.
You can.
Based on when the time frame of this being like, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can completely destroy with weather. So I can see how this is a very devastating ability to have.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then I just have one more. What is rumored to be another way? You're gonna love this question that you can become a skinwalker.
Oh God.
Making eye contact, summoning one, or drinking one's blood. Your facial expression is like, is there another option that says none of the above?
For real though, come on. Because like I don't want to drink anybody's blood. I don't want to summon one. I make eye contact with people. So it's like I'm just gonna accidentally become one. Like I didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything.
My family's alive. You know? But it does seem like the one that would make I don't want to say make the most sense, but
I know what you mean though.
it seems like to be the one that somebody would be most likely to do. Say summoning one with magic, you would have to know the magic. You would have to be a very like small within a small group.
I love how you are breaking these down. You're like, let me think about this for a minute.
No, I want to get it right so badly. I know I'm not winning anything, but I just want to get it right so badly.
That's fair.
The drinking of one's blood kind of, for me, goes into the cannibalism aspect, of which I would turn into a Wendigo, not a skinwalker.
Yeah. Well, if you consider skinwalkers still human.
True.
And what if it's not in its human form anymore? What if it's in an animal form?
Oh, damn it. Stop making this hard for me.
There's layers.
I'm gonna go with my gut and say making eye contact.
Yes.
Oh fuck. Yeah. That's
You're like, if you accidentally see one in the woods, just close your eyes.
But I wouldn't know that it's a skinwalker. It's just like some like mountain lion passing by and just like kind of goes like, "Hey, what's up?" And I go, "Hey, what's up?" Oh shit, now I'm one. But does it come with the caveat of having committed the taboo? Like, does that still need to happen, or is the
so my theory about this one is that I think what it comes from is it's a fear tactic, kind of along with like there we go. I was like, is it going to recognize me and stop being blurry? There we go. I moved too much. That's the problem. I think it kind of comes with the concept of like, don't talk about it, don't talk about it, don't talk about it. It's like, well, you can't even look at one if you see one, so you better not be out there, because if you look at one, then that's it. Like, it sounds to me Like that's one of the few things I saw that I felt didn't fit any of the other lore. Like even though you can make it make sense, right? With the possession, the taking over people's skin, you can make it make sense, but it doesn't fit with the rest of the lore as far as like it being a punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you associate it with, well, you were out at a time you weren't supposed to be out, and now you're a skinwalker, so you better not let that happen to you. You better do
Right.
what we say. Like it's kind of like, to me, it came across like a fear tactic.
Yeah, it's like a boogeyman kind of thing.
Yeah, like it
Yeah.
immediately made me think of The Village, the M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan movie, where they're
Yeah.
like, oh, you can't go out and do this, and you can't do this because there's this creature and it'll eat you up. Same thing.
Maybe
Who the
that's
hell wants to go out? Going outside ain't worth it if you're going to turn be a skinwalker.
maybe that's where he got the idea.
Right. Although I know this is like a super unpopular opinion, I really don't care. I absolutely love that movie.
Oh yeah.
It's so good. I like that one and Sixth Sense, and that's it. I don't like any of his other. Oh, and Signs. I love Signs.
Signs was pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything with aliens, sign me up anyway. But yeah, so making eye contact, and so to me, that definitely sounds like an overly lore concept because it's
Oh,
like, oh, if
absolutely.
you do
You can't
this,
make eye contact if you were never around it to begin with. So don't go
and
with
that's the only way to avoid it to be safe.
right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we use that in modern society all the time. We use
A
it with our
1000%.
boogeymen. We use it. I mean, we even use it with like friggin' Santa Claus for somewhat positive reinforcement to say if you're good, you get presents. Whereas, in this aspect, if you don't listen to us, then you become one of those things.
Yeah. I do genuinely try not to say that because it's a bluff. I would never not get my son something for Christmas.
Oh, of course.
I mean, Santa would never. How old are the people watching this? I don't even know. Hopefully older than.
I really hope much older than our kids.
Yeah. Because but like I would never, I wouldn't be able to, like, I try really hard not to say that. The only thing I do use with that though is you have to be in bed. Oh,
Yeah.
if you don't go to bed, it's going to be too late. I do say that sometimes, but
Mm.
it's usually a lie. We know it's a lie.
I mean, parents do it all the time.
I
You
know.
know, we
It's true.
do little white lies, little fibs, and stuff like that. I mean, it on one hand, I mean, we know why we use it. There are, uh, I for lack of a better term, I'm sorry, this is not the word that I want to use, but like controlling tactics, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want our kids.
Reel them in.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I think it actually does do some good to a degree. If you use it
Correctly.
correctly, then it can appeal to the imagination of the child. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like because I know when I was growing up, and all of that kind of stuff fascinated the living hell out of me more than really than it scared me. It did scare me as a child because I mean, you're a child, you're afraid of these things, but
Yeah.
I think that it really had something to do with the imagination that I have now, and my love for horror now has a lot
Yeah.
to do with what I believed in as a child and what scared me as a child. So, it has its pros and cons, but there's a balance to it to when you're just going too far with it, and probably, there will be a time when you're doing more harm than good. So,
Yeah.
like when you're going to make eye contact with something and
And
you
become
become
it
it.
forever.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's not, and the thing is interesting too about this is like there really wasn't a lot on getting rid of it. Like the only thing it said was that the juniper arrows might like were pretty seemed like a good chance, and but the other one, the blade and the ash, like maybe.
that's just a big maybe.
Yeah, that's it. And
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy because like I kind of love that like Native American creatures are so like OP. Like I love that like you're just fucked. Like if you
yeah.
can't, like, you're not going to get away from it. You're not going to be able to get rid of it. And I really love that, to be honest.
It
That makes more sense to me than being able to get rid of things that are supernatural, preternatural. Like that makes more sense to me. We're not winning that battle.
Yeah, I mean, it really gives a lot of weight to those entities, to those animals, and you're right. It is a lot more realistic because something with that many abilities shouldn't be able to be defeated by something as primitive as us.
Simple as, yeah.
In comparison, we are so primitive to these things. why should we ever have the chance against them?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. So, yeah, that's my Skinwalker.
That thing's terrifying.
It came with the movie rec. If you haven't seen The Monster Project, it's like I could talk about that movie for. I love that movie so much. It's usually always streaming. It is found footage, and if you don't like found footage, I don't like you because I love found footage.
Wow.
Found footage is a great subgenre. And no, I know found footage isn't for everybody, but if you do like found footage and you do like monster movies, it's a perfect melding of the two. And those are my two favorite subgenres: monsters and found footage. So
Nice.
and Skinwalker is awesome. He's very scary.
That is seriously. That is. I keep saying it, but because I mean it, that is just a horrifying thing. My God. But incredibly fascinating at the same time. It's as fascinating as it is horrifying. So, bravo on that subject. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're like my second favorite monster. I love talking about, or like I want more of it. Like I want more Skinwalker stories, and I want more. I think the thing that I will say, I will note, since we are like pulling lore from all these different things, I think it's very difficult sometimes for us to make things with this because it's kind of like it depends on the way that you do it, and it can be considered appropriation. Like you have to be respectful to where it's coming from and be able to create it in a way that's like not disrespectful, and that makes it hard, I think. But I would love more Skinwalker stuff, would love more Wendigo stuff. Aquatic horror apparently is terrifying. I would love more stuff like that.
Aquatic horror, yeah. Yeah.
I assume you're writing a book about scary octopuses.
I mean, it'll come. It'll come. Now that I know more about know more about them, then yeah. That's. I mean, there's so many other things out there. You know, I mean, you have what we just talked about with Oklahoma octopus in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got Kraken, which is also a giant squid creature. Like, we don't seem to like cephalopods very much.
They're scary.
Yeah. I mean, as a species, we seem to not like cephalopods so much. We don't want to go to war with them because they're definitely aliens and they will conquer us all.
They would win. I'm not sure why they haven't already.
Yeah, they're biding their time. They're waiting for the right moment to strike.
Strategizing.
Yeah.
Not that it needed to be scarier, but thank you for that.
No, you're welcome.
Oh. Well, I think that does it for this episode of Beast and Booze. Just a reminder, a link will be in the description for this episode with our merch in it. T-shirts, stickers, magnets, cups, whatever else I checked yes to. It was a lot of stuff. So check that out, and you can match us and be cool. Because I mean, this logo, like,
It's really
I genuinely awesome. Like. I'm so obsessed with it. It's like,
yeah, this is fantastic.
I know my friend Lucy did such an amazing job on this. I love him so much. Anyway, so yeah, that's all for this episode. Ivan's information will be in the description for this episode, so you can go follow along with his journey and the other things he talks about that are just as terrifying and sometimes funny. Like your holiday series are like some of my favorite ones that you've done.
Oh man, I'm thinking about doing those outside of the holidays too. So
you should. They're super fun. Love them.
Just gonna sprinkle them in there every now and then.
Yeah. No, you should for sure. Yeah, and that's all we have for Beast and Boost for this episode. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend coming up, and we'll see you in the next one.